Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome to Mana by Moonlight. I am Zenrotto, joined today by Stout Helm.
And there's no salsa on my microphone's end.
That's very good news.
I feel like that's a hard call out because I don't have any salsa. And now I'm sad about it.
It wasn't a call out, it was just more of a reference.
A callback.
Perhaps.
And as you can probably already tell, the other voice right there was Spooticus from Fort Misery Gaming.
What's up, guys?
So today we're going to talk a little bit about just sort of who we are, what the show's going to be, give you a little teaser of what's to come, and hopefully get you all excited, or not. Either, it's up to you.
Get you all tickled.
I'm going to leave that in you guys' minds. So, let's talk a little bit about how you guys got here. Let's go with Spooticus first, because he's always got... Before the salsa comes back up, we need to get him talking. So
before the belching starts rolling. Yeah, it's a good idea.
I don't have any salsa.
So why don't you talk a little bit about your background in gaming?
So I think... Am I the oldest of the three of us? I think I am.
I don't know. How old are you?
I believe so.
34.
Yes.
Yes, you are the oldest.
God damn it. So, I started, my first console was the Sega Master System. So if you really want to have a claim to fame that you'll never hear from anybody else. And I played Counter-Strike a little bit professionally, StarCraft Brood Wars a little bit, and then we started a gaming channel. Me and my buddy down in Florida started a gaming channel in 2014, which is Fort Misery Gaming, and we've just sort of been lollygagging about until I ran into you two idiots playing tag. That's pretty much it.
All right. How about you, Stout? What got you here today? What deep life-changing events in gaming?
Well, I've been gaming from a young age. The earliest memories I have of playing video games were when I was 3, and both of my uncles, they both had Nintendo Entertainment Systems. I played those and really, really enjoyed them, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. Then when I was 4 for Christmas, I got a Super Nintendo, and just kind of, gaming's kind of always been there, as a little bit of a hobby. In terms of kind of getting connected with an online gaming community, all the hype around Teppen kind of got me interested in, jumping into the YouTube sphere and making videos, which is something I've always wanted to do. But I was kind of looking for something to push me to do it. Since there wasn't a lot of Teppen info out at the time, now this was July 2019, there's more info out, much more info out there now. Just kind of jumped into it, and Teppen, I don't remember exactly how we got connected on Twitter then, but it was something Teppen related. And then I met Spoot, and my life has been changed forever.
Yeah, Zen and I's ambassador match will go down in the annals of time as one of the most fucking awful things that have ever happened in Teppen history.
Yeah, there was a reason it was the only match that didn't get a highlight.
Because it had literally the most interesting matches of the entire tournament.
Yeah, because we're the only ones that talked. Correct.
Yeah.
I believe that is true. Yeah,
It was.
Some
it was
folks
rough.
were pretty quiet, but
Correct.
We were yelling, "Run, Pickles, run!"
Well, our final match ended up being an Ouroboros mirror. So
Yeah.
we were just vomiting Devil Joes at each other.
And I remember, Spoot, you asked me when we played in the second ambassador tournament, you're like, we need to be on Discord together. And this was when you and I knew each other better, obviously better than we do now.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember who I told, but I was like, this is a trick. He's going to try and psych me out. I'm not doing that. And now looking back on it, it's like, why didn't I do it? That would have been so funny.
It was all a salsa-fueled ploy.
There's and I think you two have probably, since you've gotten to know me a little better, you understand, like, I'm a pretty straightforward dude. Like, I don't hide shit from people. Like, if I have something I want from you, I'll just fucking tell you. So, like, if I straight up asked Zen, and Zen was the one that actually got us into streaming Dragon Ball Z, which was a mistake. But here we you can all at me later. I don't give a fuck. Because like we were watching like Lumiichigo and Zen and all of them and Zahal, and Chris was like, "Man, Zen's really cool. We should like start a channel." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, fuck it, why not?" And this, I'm attributing it to Zen. It's not specifically his fault, but I guess you could give him a portion of the blame.
It is
Yeah.
now.
And we started and we ran in. I got matched up with Zen in the first ambassador tournament, and they were like, I was like, holy shit, you're literally the guy that got me into YouTube. And then I found out you had beef with Living Ichigo later, and I was like, why was that the coolest thing I was not involved with?
Yeah, that has long since passed, but we did indeed have some beef for a little bit.
Oh, it made me so happy. That guy's a dick.
He's pretty nice. I don't know.
This
I
is
don't
going
want
to
to
be
get
a
into
great
that
first
on the
episode of a
show.
podcast. This will really gain traction.
Like, he can be pleasant in interactions, but then there are other times where I've seen him interact with people, and I was just like, wow, what are you doing? So this is me being a little hyperbolic. I don't necessarily know him well enough to call him a dick, but his persona tended to come off like that. But yeah, I got matched up with Zen in the first ambassador tournament, and we just wilded the fuck out for what? We played all 5 rounds. I think we were the only ones that played 5 rounds, weren't we?
I think so, in the first round at least, yeah.
Yeah. So we played for like probably 45 minutes and then goofed off for a little bit, and then we just sort of clicked really well. And then me and Stout, we didn't really start talking until after the second tournament, I think. Like after.
Yeah, we didn't. You and I had talked like on occasion, but
kind of cursorily, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't like I talked to him like every day or every other day kind of situation.
That's how Spoot befriends people, losing to them in tournaments.
Damn.
hey, listen, Spoot, our set was hype.
It was.
The sweat from that like 15 Maki from that
I
last
remember
game.
that Rathalos coming in made me, oh man.
That was, I remember sitting there and I was like, I remember just being dead quiet while we were playing that set. It was a good set. It was fun. Those tournaments were fun. Whatever happened to those?
Well, the drafting especially was really fun.
Oh,
like,
the draft was the best part. It's the only
it added
thing
an extra dimension to it. Yeah.
Because like playing the game's easy. Like Teppen as a mechanical effort is kind of boring, but like it's easy to play. You know, like it's not so unintuitive or difficult that like a 12-year-old can't pick it up in an hour.
I mean, you tell that to my 28-year-old sister.
Well, I mean, she doesn't game though, does she? Like, how many card games has she played in her life?
I mean, aside from like real life card games like Uno, like none.
Yeah, exactly.
Her gaming experience is The Sims, which it's not like you're playing an RTS or anything. It's very easy to manage.
Like,
the Sims go to the jobs on their own.
Well, sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah, I don't get mad at people for like not having a gaming background and being bad at a game. You get better through playing it and learning. Like that's the half of the fight, right? I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the journey.
That was the whole point of question number 1, Spoot. She hasn't gone through question number 1 yet. That's why.
Oh
really?
Shit, she hasn't.
Exactly.
We got to get her to call in on question 1. We have to ask her question 1.
On the next episode, phone in.
Yeah,
Don't say that. Don't say it because she would do it.
We're getting Sis Helm involved.
Oh my god.
That was a total whiff opportunity on that, by the way. I saw
it was her. It was her name that she said.
I get it, but Sis Helm is so good.
It's way better. It's way better than the one you used.
That's actually a weird question. So, like, how big is your family, guys? Like, I know, Stout, you've got 2 siblings? Or...
I have 1.
You only have 1?
I only have the 1.
That.
Yeah, she's the only one. It's both sides of my family are pretty big. The area we live in now is kind of where my family's always been. So like my side of the family, but my wife's side of the family is much bigger. But we all kind of live very close to each other in this section of the area that we live.
Just like one of those Hatfield McCoy kind of things. Do you guys like own a mountain?
No, we do not actually. We live on kind of a hill, but not a mountain. But like her parents.
Do you guys own a hill?
I mean, yeah, it's on our property. We own a hill.
All right.
But I mean, I have one sibling. That's it. I've got the one kiddo who's already here and the other one on the way.
Next month. Fuck.
I know
Less than a month
2
now.
weeks.
Yeah.
Like well, a little more than 2 weeks, but
That's whoa, man. I'm excited as shit for you, man.
I hope
That's
it's
crazy.
born on my birthday, so you have to remember that for the rest of your life.
well, I'll tell you, I think what I'll remember the most is probably all the security protocols for COVID-19 that we're gonna have to go through. Like the hospital has already, like, and this is just gonna be a really weird workaround, but I'm going to be the only one that's going to allow to be in the hospital with her.
That's crazy.
And even
and
even for appointments, like they do, like you have to go through 2 security checks. Like she'll have to do that tomorrow when she goes in for her checkup.
That's nuts, man. Hopefully everything goes all right. Yeah, the COVID thing, I guess we're time stamping it a little bit. The apocalypse is not. So what about you, Zen? You got any family? What you doing?
I got one sister. Younger.
Younger or older? Younger.
Younger. Yep.
I've got a half sister that's a couple years older, and my little brother is 6 years younger. But I've got a pretty small family too, so I guess that's a little different. You got one of those big Italian grandma families?
Kind of. They live in Pennsylvania though, so I don't see them very often.
Are you
Oh,
Italian?
shit.
I'm predominantly Italian, yes.
Okay.
You
All
couldn't
right.
tell by that massive facial beard he's got, that glowing, fuzzy fuck.
I mean, this just opens the realm for more jokes down the.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I guess I should answer question 1 because we've gone 10 minutes since we started asking question 1 and we have not gotten through it yet. My first system was technically a Sega Genesis, but I was like 2, so I pretty much just smacked buttons and Sonic jumped and I loved it. My first system that I was old enough to actually cognizantly play was a PlayStation 1. And
Damn,
then,
you skipped like an entire generation almost.
You
That's
skipped a
crazy.
good generation too.
Yeah, Genesis Super Nintendo was lit as fuck.
I'm sorry, I'm not as old as you guys are,
Yeah,
all
no, I
right?
get it. I'm not shaming you or anything. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it's okay. It's okay.
I
The
I
Genesis.
I remember Christmas one year after we got the Super Nintendo. My dad came home with like Final Fantasy VI, Earthbound, and Chrono Trigger, and Secret of Mana, and we spent like the entire winter break playing SquareSoft games. Like
I
it
mean,
was
I played
crazy.
them all when I was younger, but it was more of like a, ooh, I should get this because I am old enough to be aware I like video games now, so I should get these
Yeah.
things and play them. I didn't like grow up with the SNES. I was just a little after that. I grew up with PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64.
Damn, I remember only owning like 2 games on the Sega Master System, and if you didn't put a cartridge in, you got the snail maze.
See, I've never touched a Master System. That was before my time.
We had Shinobi and Sonic 1, and then there was something else we had right before we got our NES. Because I know I only had an NES for like a month, and then it broke because we got it like secondhand.
Yeah, I never had one of those, but Super Nintendo was big for me. So was N64.
Super Nintendo PlayStation 1 was like my heyday. So where'd you go from the PS1s then?
Basically just stuck all the way through PlayStation. I was not a huge Nintendo. I mean, I had Nintendo systems, but I didn't like them as much as everybody else did, really. Not a
Man,
huge
really,
Mario
not even
guy.
The GameCube was like lit.
The GameCube was cool. I mean, I played like Smash Brothers and stuff, but I didn't like, the new, Donkey Kong or whatever. I play like 2 Mario games. I play Zelda, but that's about it for Nintendo for me.
Not even Luigi's Mansion.
Was there even a Donkey Kong for
There
the
was
TV?
not. That's
I don't
all. I
think
wasn't
so.
gonna
I think
call
there
it out
was.
on it, but
There
there
was
those,
on the
like, weird
N64, but not for the
spin-offs
GameCube,
that-
I don't think.
Yeah, the GameCube was that weird in-between system where like, hey, you should really have a Donkey Kong game on this system because you're doing well financially.
Yeah, and there were weird gaps like that because you also have to think about like for N64 there was no Metroid game.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, but then
there
you
were
had
plans, but
you
there
had
was.
Prime on the GameCube. But yeah, they go through these weird annual generation skips for certain titles. It's always been very bizarre.
Yeah.
But since we're kind of getting into that territory because we also wanted to talk about games that kind of shaped us and molded us a little bit, right, Zen?
Yeah, absolutely. We were moving into that. Technically, we were supposed to be talking about our tag explanations first, but I'll allow it to go out of order.
Oh no,
I have the power to make that decision on this show, so I allow it.
I'm sorry, I flubbed it up. Please don't send me back to vote.
I'll allow it?
I'll allow it. Objection
What a
sustained.
power move. Yeah, we can do tags real quick. So, where'd you get Stout Helm, and what were you before?
Oh man, I've gone through so many over the years. The earliest tag that I can remember was error 404 hashtag swag not found. Was the earliest one that I can remember. And that was kind of like when I played a lot of Steam games. I played a lot of FPSs. That was kind of my gamer tag. Then transitioned over to, for the longest time, I used great_Aether. In fact, when I first started streaming, that was my tag because I loved Fire Emblem. I was really big into Fire Emblem at the time. I still love it.
I mean,
I'm just
Fire
not as
Emblem's
into.
solid.
That is one
I'm just
of
not
the,
as into
one
it
of
as
the
I
games
used to
I
be.
was
But
surprised to hear you say that you like really, really loved was Fire Emblem. I don't know why.
I could
Well-
see him playing like Fire Emblem 7 and 8. Like, you probably had him on what, Game Boy?
yeah, well, I never really talked, so much about it because it's been a while since I was really into it and I would play them all the time. But Ike was my boy, and so that was just kind of the gamer tag that I had. And then when I decided that I was going to do YouTube for Teppen, I was like, I probably need a different gamer tag that is not just a super move of a Fire Emblem character. So I kind of thought about it, and I wanted to have a logo.
Dual Links meta?
What's that?
I said you didn't want to be Dual Links meta.
He was around before.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, when I was streaming Duel Links, I was still great Aether at the time. But I kind of thought about what I wanted to do in terms of like a logo or something, and a game that's kind of always been important to me, which I'll get into that when we talk about it. But I wanted to go with a design that's kind of similar to a helmet. And I was like, well, I'm a big guy. I could be Stout Helm because this looks like a helm, and just most people just end up abbreviating it Stout. No, it was not in relation to the NPC in Gridania in Final 14. But
Total
it's just kind of.
Which I do have to own up. I owned that Twitter handle.
But yeah, that was just kind of something that I came up with in relation to a logo that I had designed. Like the logo came before the name, but now I'm very attached to the name. So
It's a good name. Solid name.
It's good. I like it.
All right.
What do you got?
Unleash the story of Spooticus on us. I can only imagine the nightmare that's about to unfold.
There's not actually a lot to it. Did you guys watch the Angry Beavers?
Yes.
a long
So
time
when
ago.
Daggett gets launched, what he yells is "Spoo!" And for whatever reason, I just really latched onto that as a kid. Like I was like, that's a cool noise. And so my entire gamer career, it's just been variations of the word "spoot," like the Spootang clan, Das Spoot, I am Spooticus, etc., etc.
I was expecting much worse based on the stories that you tell. Not that they're bad stories, but just that the bad shit happens in the story.
So I was at this strip club buffet in Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
There are a number of those stories, and yes, they are either wildly fucked up or interesting in bad ways. But no, like I really liked the Angry Beavers as a kid. That was like my favorite Nickelodeon cartoon that wasn't Rocco or AR. So like I watched the shit out of it, and I was like, that's a really cool noise. And I have never, up until probably a couple of years ago, I've never seen anybody else actually use it in a handle. Like I would say probably less than 10. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And plus, like, I like the movie Spartacus, so I am Spooticus was always really funny to me. Because I'll come into chats and people will be like, no, I'm Spooticus, and it always makes me giggle. I guess if you want another laugh, my Steam handle is Champagne Enema. if I have to blow the lid off of something. And people really get into that when I load into a Dota match or something.
Oh my god.
It's the finest of drunks, Stout Helm.
We are wildly off.
There's a lot of precision involved in setting.
Butt chugging, hell yeah. All right, how we've inspired Zenrotto.
Actually, there was no weeb involved in it at all, other than
I somehow doubt you.
the TO part at the end. Because when I started doing more Dragon Ball stuff, I added the TO on the end because that's Goku's name.
Oh shit, that's right. You were Zenrot for
Yeah,
fucking ever.
I was just
I forgot
Zenrot
about
since I was
that.
like 9.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Because,
You had just switched over pretty quick after we got into Dokkan, because you were Zenrot for a little while, and then I guess you added it on or some shit.
Yeah, it was actually Rhyme Style that said you should add the TO on the end, because he thought it was cool. So I did that.
You mentioned Rhyme, and I can feel the energy from here.
No, I love that guy. Dino's great.
I know, I love the dude, but like he is like I am energetic, and that man makes me go, I gotta calm the fuck down.
Oh yeah, the Dino he is raw energy, but he's a great guy. Absolutely great guy. So yeah, I was Zenrot when I was really little because I kind of like was young in the spanning age of the internet. I was like 9 when we got our
Was
first
that your
computer.
guy online handle?
No, well, before I did just like the generic edge kid, like, you know,
Oof.
whatever fucking bullshit ones you do. But they would always be taken, so I was like, this sucks. I need to make up something that's completely fucking random. And so my little dumbass brain was like, what are 2 things that are opposite of one another? Because that has to be something no one would ever think up. So I was like, okay, so peacefulness is opposite of bad things, and you rot away when you die. So it was Zen for peacefulness, and the opposite of that, which is dying. That was where it came from.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. That's a lot more intuitive than your 9-year-old self probably led you to believe.
Yeah, it's deeper than you expected.
Yeah, too deep, 5 me.
And that's where it came from. And then when I started doing Dragon Ball, I added the TO because Goku's Japanese name is Kakarot with the TO on the end. And I was like, it's funny that we have the same word ending, so I'm gonna add the TO.
Nah, that's cool. That's actually like that's pretty insightful too, because a lot of people don't. I'm sure at the time it was just an irritable thing. You're like, man, fuck people. I gotta figure out something that isn't taken, so I don't have to add 69 Saiyan 360 no scopes.
Yeah, when it was like, you know, X Sephiroth, Fire Wing, X Q,
Yeah.
and you know,
Fire wing.
I don't know if that was really one. I just made that up, but it's possible.
Oh man.
You said it and I believed it, so I'm sure that exists somewhere.
Probably.
Winston _ Uchiha 666.
Douglas Urameshi.
Oh my god.
But yeah, the whole point was that I didn't want to have to make a different name every time I wanted to go join like an online community or something. I just wanted a handle that I could just use every time, and it would always work. So
Sure.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool though. Like I actually like that. That's really fun.
All right, now we can sustain Stout's objection, and we can go right into most important gaming things to us. Your favorites, whatever one matters the most to you. And I'm gonna let Stout lead because he was leading us there to begin with.
Okay. So I guess when I think about games that are, I guess, the most important to me, there's 2 that come to mind, but I'm gonna pick one over the other. When I was really, really young, we had this local video store that we would always go to. And it was big, expansive. They had tons and tons of games. And my dad would take me like every Friday night or something if I wanted to, and would rent a game and keep it over the weekend and then take it back. And normally I would rent something that like me and a few of my buddies could play. But something that I hadn't seen before was on the shelf, and that was Super Mario RPG.
Oh,
And now at the time,
So
I didn't
good.
really understand what an RPG was. I didn't get it. I was just like, oh, this is a new Mario game. You get to play as Bowser and Peach. That sounds cool. I'm in. And so I picked it up, and I didn't really understand much of what I was doing to begin with, because even that kind of game for those who understand it, it's a very intro level RPG. But RPGs
it
from
has
someone.
very active parts to it though that are very not like it's closer to modern RPG or action RPGs than it was at the time.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of things that it was like the forefather.
Yeah, and there's for RPGs, for anybody that it hasn't been exposed to them 4 can be really overwhelming because it's a lot, the gameplay is a lot slower to a traditional Mario game, which kind of has that, as Nintendo has said, that athletic feel. It's different. And I was intrigued about what I didn't understand. So I said to myself, I was like, okay, I can't just rent this anymore. I'm not going to be able to figure this out in a weekend. I need to own this. So I took money that I had saved up and I bought it. And I also bought the strategy guide for it because I wanted to be able to understand. And playing through that game, and I would argue that it is one of the most charming and soulful video game experiences that has ever been created. Is it a super deep RPG? No. In fact, you can beat it in like an afternoon if you're dedicated. Things can be relatively short if you know what you're doing. But just from being a Mario kid, I was more of a Mario kid than a kid. And just kind of how that kind of opened my eyes to more RPGs, because Super Mario RPG led to Final Fantasy VII, which led to Final Fantasy VIII, which led to Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross and all other sorts of RPGs, because I'm big into RPGs, and just kind of opened my eyes to kind of an area of gaming that I hadn't been exposed to as a kid. So that game it means a lot to me. I've got a really cool shadow box artwork from the game sitting behind me. I play through it at least once every year. I still have my original cartridge. I don't have the box anymore, but the cartridge does play. It's just kind of one of those games that's kind of always meant a lot to me.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool as shit.
All right, Spoot, lay it on us.
I'm trying to think, because I'm trying to figure out if I want like the most meaningful memory. Yeah, let's go with that. Fuck it. And you two can go ahead and feign amazement when I say this. I was a really quiet kid, very, very much so. Like, I was very introverted. I was never really social. I always kept to myself. But we moved around a lot when I was a kid. Like, my dad worked on the railroad, so like by the 5th grade, I was in like 12 different schools. So I just kept to myself and played video games and read books a lot. So when I was really young, when we first got the Nintendo, my dad got Final Fantasy, and he had played Zork and all that adventure shit on like DOS 3.2 and Pre and all that nonsense. So like he sort of liked those weird adventure RPGs and like the text RPGs and all that stuff. So I'd sit there when he was playing it, and I'd make him read me what the NPCs were saying, and had to have been 3 or 4 at the time. And he'd be like, I'm tired of doing this. Like, you gotta learn how to read, dude. So like, we spent a couple of weeks, like me and my grandma and him, like found out that I was a really voracious reader, and I sort of just started absorbing media like it was going out of style. Like I was reading. The accelerated reader program in school hated me because I was carrying classes by myself. So that always means a lot. Like my dad like got me into both reading and kind of that fantasy world of like role-playing games and stuff like that. Because like then we got a Genesis and I played Shining Force 1 and 2, and Phantasy Star 4 to this day is still probably one of my favorite RPGs, outside of like Chrono Trigger, probably. Chrono Trigger is probably my favorite game of all time, but Phantasy Star 4 is real close to beating it for like my favorite RPG. And that's pretty much all I got.
That's wholesome.
I never beat Phantasy Star 4, but I did play through a few of those.
It's fucking hard.
When I played them, this was before kind of my exposure to SMRPG, before I took the time to understand what it was that I was doing.
I owned SMRPG too. That one was really good. I fucking love that game.
And but the Phantasy Star series is another that's big for me. So mad props to you for that one be mattering to you, because I love that series. And of course I like Chrono Trigger and I like Chrono Cross too, so good choices.
Yeah, Phantasy Star 1 and 2 were real different because they had that kind of first person walk a dungeon kind of feel. Well, the first one did, and then the second one was like an overworld RPG.
Yeah,
3 and 4 really turned around.
Okay, Zen, you're up.
All right. So let's see. For me, it's probably got to be Final Fantasy VII.
Boo.
When I was real little, my sister was born when I was like 8. I was in 3rd grade.
Oh, so you've got about the same distance in age between your sister as I do my brother.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
she's still in college.
get you,
I'm
buddy.
almost 30. So yeah,
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
yeah, it is. But when we were like, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, obviously, and my parents worked. They both worked retail, and they worked all the time. So when they weren't home, I wasn't doing anything, and when they were home, they were pissed off all the time. Not like abusively or anything, but they were just like,
No,
I'm
they're
trying to
just
watch TV.
Like,
Like,
the retail
yeah.
burn, man. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like they weren't like bad people. They were just tired.
Like
working all
everybody
day.
that's listening just has worked one retail job. Like you fucking
Right.
know that.
You
feeling.
get it immediately. So I did a lot of stuff by myself and entertained myself with games and stuff that way. But I had like, I don't know if identity issues is the right word, but I was like super quiet kid, but didn't really want to be. But I was just super lacking in confidence, basically. So I like latched on to Cloud, who had a similar thing going on. Well, the whole big like, what parts of this are actually me and what parts of this aren't me. And I latched onto
I'm
that
really
in a
glad
big
you
way.
didn't latch on to Squall, because if you used more than one ellipsis, I would have been really upset.
No, I did not. I did not latch onto Squall's angst.
Stop trying to bait me.
You wanna talk, Mr. Dot Dot Dot?
That's a discussion for other time.
Would you prefer chicken wuss?
Carry on, Zen.
Anyway, so yeah, that it was a good part in me, like, because him continuing to go through it helped me continue to go through it, and I kind of that helped growing into confidence through middle school up to high school. Probably too far in the other direction, because I got into a bunch of ill-behaved child things as I got older, because I got a little too far in the other direction. But that was a big part of me kind of breaking out a little bit, and getting more confident, getting out there, talking to people, doing that kind of thing. And then it led me to other RPGs like The Legend of Dragoon, which 7 people have played, but it's one of my favorite games of all time.
I'm one of those 7.
Yeah, I played it. It was
Good
fun.
game.
I
Yeah,
liked
it's
it
a
a
great
lot.
game.
It was probably one of, honestly, Legend of Dragoon is better than a lot of contemporary SquareSoft releases.
I agree
So,
completely. It's one of my favorite games ever made, and I've stuck with Final Fantasy a lot ever since then. 8, 9, 10. I did not play 11 because I could not afford to. Still too young at the time. I played 12 and 13.
I played too much of 11.
14 was my first MMO ever, actually. And that's another fun
Oh, wow.
memory that I have of playing it. Because, like, the idea of it was always weird to me. Because I was, like, a high school kid. And I was like, bleh, you're going to run around with all these idiots. That sounds dumb. And then I played 14 for a day because a lot of my friends were into it. And I was like, all right, I'll play it.
well, I mean, you weren't wrong about the first part. You do have
Correct,
to
there's a
run
lot of
around
idiots
Oh,
with
yeah.
idiots.
Can't
Like,
avoid
that's
that,
still
but
true.
I remember walking around Ul'dah, playing like the night song. For anyone who's played that game, who knows Sultana Dreaming, that's the song that plays. And I was just kind of standing there, and just people were running by, and I was like, "This is fucking crazy! Those are other
Yeah.
people." And so I played Final Fantasy 14 basically ever since then, and that's probably the game I've played the most since I started playing it.
What was your first MMO style?
Oh man, that's tough because I tried a lot of MMOs when
I'm
was
going
younger.
to blow this out of the fucking water, but I want you to go first.
I think 11 was probably my first.
I played The Realm.
I don't even know what that is.
I've never even heard of it.
It was 32-bit dial-up servers, sideways, side-scrolling MMO.
I'm gonna have
look
to
it
Google
up.
that later
It
and
looks fucking
add it to
awful.
the
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
museum,
Google
the
it later,
history
I'm
museum
curious.
of gaming.
No, it's legit. Like, you're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? But it came out in like 97 or 98 or some shit like that. Like, it predated everything.
Yeah.
And then I played EverQuest for a little bit, and then I played WoW for too long.
Yeah, my first was 11, and I remember trying to get a few of my friends into it, and they were just like, "No, it just doesn't feel like what I like about Final Fantasy." But I got really into it, and I will say this, and I'm still a firm believer in it: the Final Fantasy 11 community, and even the community now and what it used to be, is the best MMO community that I have ever been a part of, and that's an experience that I'll never forget. And then I tried a bunch.
Out how to reach out and tell him he's wrong. He is at stout_.
Yeah, go for it. I would love to tell. I would love to have a discussion about that. But I tried a bunch of different ones. I think we might have talked about Tibia. Have we talked about Tibia?
You and I had like a 2-second conversation about it. Yeah. Not really in depth.
I played Tibia a lot. I don't know why, but I did. And then a lot of I don't know if you classified it as an MMO, but Phantasy Star Online episode 1 and 2 for the GameCube. Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
So it's kind of those were my beginner ones.
So have you played any other MMOs, Zach? Or is it just 14?
Just 14.
Oh shit.
That's it.
That's kind of wild, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty, because I remember when WoW came out, it felt like there were MMOs for everything everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you remember EverQuest? Like that thing was the beginning.
I know of all of them, but I'd never had any money.
I never played. EverQuest was a few years ahead of me.
It was right after I got my first job when I first started playing EverQuest, so I could like buy my own games for the first time, and I lost my fucking mind.
Like I never played that when it was out. I have since played Star Wars Galaxies on a private server, but I've never played. I didn't play it when it was actually in its heyday.
Galaxies was such a weird game.
Yeah, Galaxies was weird. But it's a lot of those old games that just have so much charm to them. I guess that's why I look back on them.
It was a different time back then.
Dude, that was like back in those days was like the Wild West of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just do what
like
you
now
want.
MMOs are like I'm the WoW, like that's their modus operandi. But back then you didn't have that concern. Everybody was just trying to do something crazy.
Yeah, like 11's big thing was a lot of even though MMORPGs are largely about the experience of playing with other people, there are ways that you can go through games now and you can largely do it as a solo experience. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is one. You can even do Final Fantasy 14 for the most part as a solo person. WoW, you can grind solo if you want to, but like back in the day for Final Fantasy 11, the only reliable way to level up aside from one class was you had to do it in a group of 6. And it just kind of forced you to get ingrained into the community. And while it was a pain at times, it was also really cool.
Yeah, I could see that building bonds. Although, man, finding 5 other people that don't like drive me up the fucking wall is hard.
Well, it would often result in you waiting at the entrance to a zone, just constantly spamming in the chat that you were there and that you were in a group.
ASL, LFG.
And depending on what you were, you may not get invited to things because the class balance wasn't a huge concern for Square at the time, and it was an early MMO, so I completely understand that. But like, just as an example, if you were playing a Dragoon, you were largely inferior to a lot of other damage dealing classes, and so a lot of times you would not get picked because people didn't want you.
Yeah, I've always hated that aspect of MMOs. Like even when I've been like co-guild leader for a bunch of raid groups, like I would always take everybody no matter what, regardless of how optimal they are. Like people are going to do content, and if they want to do it, they're going to do it like as hard as they can. Like you got to give people a chance.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
Yeah,
it's not
I'm
too
always
bad
a
like
big
that in 14, because the stuff is fairly balanced out. But like for a while there, certain classes like Red Mage couldn't get into anything because you were just a shitty.
Well, yeah, but when Red Mage came out, it was just not great either. Like they took a while to like kind of polish that. Was it 11 or Realm Reborn that had the Bahamut kill? It was pre-Realm Reborn.
Bahamut was in both.
Bahamut. Yeah, are you talking about when Bahamut blew up the world?
Yeah,
that was the transition from
14
1.0 to a Realm Reborn.
So like, I want to point out that in gaming history, that is one of the coolest closures to a story that I have ever fucking seen. Like ever.
The entire story of how 14 came to be and what it was at first and where it is now is nothing short of incredible. Like this kind of the kind of thing, what the game has become, that never happens in video games. So
you get a couple of instances very rarely. Like Rainbow Six Siege when it first came out was a garbage on fire, and now it's one of the most entertaining quote unquote tactical shooters you can get. And
Yeah.
14 really had that climb to champion because it started bad.
Yeah, I played the beta of the original 14 and hated it. I was like, yep, I will never
Yeah, I
touch
didn't
this.
like it either. I was playing Guild Wars at the time, and we went to the 14 beta, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going back to Guild
Yeah.
Wars.
But and you know, it is definitely possible, but I think it takes a really special development team to say, you know what, you guys are right. This is not fun and it's not good, and we're going to take a crack at it, and we're going to see if we can get it right. Because in most situations, it's like, well, game failed, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But 14 made it work, and I mean, the player numbers now are bigger than they've ever been, which is very hard to do for MMOs in this day
Absolutely.
and age.
And 14 wins accolades all the time for story, for composition. It has, outside of like obviously some preferred composers, it has some of the best video game music ever made.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, Pokemon Masters is another one. Great comeback story for a video game.
Oh yeah. You wanna tell us about some Pokemon there, Zen?
Yeah, so Pokemon Masters, when it first came out, the very first day, it was like, this is solid. You know, it wasn't incredible, but it was like the first week, and people were like, you know, this is a really good foundation that can grow into something really great. And then they did nothing with it. The entire end game was purely co-op, and co-op was atrocious because nobody knew how to play it, and everyone would just auto battle and die, and you really
Yeah, it
couldn't
was
beat
bad.
events other than like having the Pokemon that countered the event. So like if you pulled
Well, I
blue,
remember getting to the end of the story missions, and if you hadn't like grinded out just a little bit and paid like attention to how the moves work, like you couldn't auto any of the content in like the last quarter.
oh yeah, you couldn't. It was hard. And so as it progressed, people kind of were like, okay, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better, and it never got better. It was radio silent too. They did not like drop a single thing that said, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And then finally, out of the blue, they dropped a developer letter that pretty much said, hey, long time no talk. We know our game sucks and that you don't like it, and we're very aware that you don't like it, and we're going to, over the course of 6 months, here's our plan for every single month, what we're going to do to make it better. And that roadmap ended right when the release of Red happened, which is sort of when people started flooding back into it, because Red is obviously very popular, Charizard's obviously very popular, and it's been great ever since they did that. And like Stout said, it takes a special interested dev to look at a game that is obviously failing. Because when I say Pokemon Masters was failing, it was failing. It made like, I think an insane amount of money in its first week, like over $20 million in a week. And then it made a total of, I think, like $2 million for the remainder of that month, over 3 weeks. Because it was like an unbelievably exponential income like deficit, because it was just nothing. They never updated, they never talked, they never did anything. And then slowly but surely they said, you know, hey, thank you for sticking with us. We know this product isn't good. Here's how we're going to make it good. You know, please stick with us through this process and we're going to fix it together. And now they do developer updates every couple weeks. I think it's every 2 weeks. They give you another update that just says, hey, here's what's coming. We're going to do for the next update. They're adding in things now like Pokemon eggs. Your create a character is going to be customizable. You can hatch an egg into a Pokemon that you can then use instead of your Pikachu. They're going hard with it. Well, Pikachu's actually top tier, so shut up.
I know.
Pikachu's broken. But people don't know
I
that.
understand.
But yeah, it's impressive. And Final Fantasy XIV kind of did the same thing. Every now and again, I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch videos of people experiencing like the last 2 minutes of the server, and like just standing there together and talking while the meteor falls, and the meteor hits and it just says server connection lost. And it just takes you back to the title screen, and that's crazy to me.
It's honestly one of the most striking events in video games in the last 10 years. And like everybody's gonna be like, well, Fortnite or Minecraft or all that shit. But like, how many times have you seen a game successfully end its own world? Period.
Yeah,
and then come back from nothing.
they straight up basically just said, this is gone. We're
Yeah.
completely getting rid of this, and we're fixing it all. And they did. I mean, Realm Reborn had its issues, and as the patches have gone on, it's been really great. And now Shadowbringers is just a crazy experience. Story, gameplay, it's all been incredible.
It's good. I like it.
I assume that we'll stream it again at some point in the future. Probably.
I mean, we're still raiding, so it works out. Raiding. We're not raiding.
We're not even kind of raiding.
Yeah.
We're leveling
Yeah.
you up. Because you're not max
we're
level. It's the
we're
opposite
doing
of
roulettes
raiding.
right now,
Yeah.
but it's fun. It's
It
bonding
is.
time.
Do I have to go get my bowl of salt?
Please don't. We're almost done. Let's just hold off on the salsa for a couple minutes.
Dad.
For a couple minutes. Is there anything else you guys really want to talk about on the intro? Remember, this is the introductory Get to Know Us episode. So let anyone know anything about you that you want to say right now.
Oh, shit. Man, I don't know.
Man, I should have thought of this before, but I haven't.
How about what you do other than this show?
Well, I do a lot of tapping content on YouTube, not so much on Twitch, but I do try to stick to kind of CCG and mobile game type stuff video for YouTube. That's kind of what people seem to enjoy. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I actually may record a tapping video tonight. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
I do another podcast with a buddy of mine in real life. Obviously, I do Fort Misery Gaming. War of the Visions comes out tomorrow, so that's another game I gotta pick up because I'm doing it for the channel. So
I'm gonna look into
hate
that. It
myself
looks
for-
kind of interesting.
It's Final Fantasy Tactics, but it has gacha elements, so I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't watched any of the JP stuff because I gotta go over a couple hours tonight and sort of catch up on. But
What doesn't
I
have a
don't know, I'm
gacha
hoping-
element these days?
well, I mean, if you want to make money, EA figured that out a long time ago, and it just sort of disseminated everywhere.
Yeah,
else.
pretty much.
Yep.
I don't know. That's pretty much all I do. Like, I primarily game on PC. The only I think console I own is a Switch, so I haven't had a PlayStation since like the beginning of PlayStation 3. Yeah, that was like the last time I owned a console outside of like a Nintendo console at random.
Alright, and everyone, you guys know what I do. This is on my channel. If you don't know what I do, and then I do this, the place that you are right now. That's the thing I do.
When's Pitter Patter Pop?
God damn it.
Why-
That's totally
why
coming.
isn't-
That's totally
why isn't
coming.
this a- Why isn't this a Pitter Patter Pop video?
There
Yeah,
are
why haven't
there
we
are
talked
Pitter
about
Patter
JoJo's
Pop
yet?
videos made, I promise. I'm just doing other stuff too. I'm not gonna branch out too much farther from where I am. I don't have time anymore to grind like 17. I used to play like I had a folder of them, and I just went. I don't have that kind of time anymore. I got like now I have
it's
Pokemon,
hard.
Pitter Patter Pop, and 7 Deadly Sins, and I'm probably not expanding beyond that anymore.
Yeah, like I've never really played a whole lot of mobile games. Like I played Dokkan so my first mobile game was like Puzzles and Dragons, and I played the fuck out of that for like 4 months, and then I just dropped it completely. And then I didn't do anything until like Dokkan. So like I've never been a huge mobile player.
My
Play a
first
lot
one
of card
was
games.
Brave Frontier. Way back.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah,
That
a
was
long time
good.
ago. And then I played a little Puzzles and Dragons too. That got real popular around where I was for a while. And then I kind of fell out of it for a bit too. And then I picked up Dokkan when it came to Global, which was a
What a
mistake,
fucking
clearly.
mistake.
Yeah, clearly. Obviously that was a mistake at the
What
time.
a fucking mistake.
Yeah. And then I've branched out into a bunch of them since then, just trying to find ones that can keep your interest. It's hard because they're such a disposable medium that like you'll play one for hardcore for like 2 weeks and then you'll be like, wow, I don't even want to play this anymore. This shit sucks.
Yeah, so many of them come and go so fast.
Yeah,
that it's
because
just
even
kind of like,
beyond that, like devs treat them disposably. Like, oh hey, we're gonna go hard for 6 months, and oh, we don't have a game anymore. And you're like, what
Yep.
the fuck, guy?
So now I found a good balance of games that I always have to balance it. Like 7 Deadly Sins is a crazy grind. So I have to play Pokemon, which isn't super grindy. It's like mid-grindy. and then Pitter Patter Pop, it's like 0 grind. You literally log in for like 15 minutes and you're done for the day. And that's how I can balance, basically, and keep 3. Otherwise, I'd have to cut even more because there's just no time in the day.
Yeah, I don't even think, other than auto grinding, I don't really do a whole lot in 7 Deadly. Like, I'm doing videos for content, but past that, like, I don't do a whole lot with playing actively unless it's like one of the demon raids.
I play PvP a lot, actually. I actually like it.
A
A lot of people don't like it. I actually like it.
It's once you get, the higher up you get, the worse it gets, because you're just gonna fight the same team 500 times.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what's any different from any other competitive game?
Yeah,
you boot
well,
into Duel Links, you're fighting Dark Magician. You boot into Teppen, you're fighting Zero.
Yeah, but I guess coming from a PC primary background, it's a lot different because like metas are different in like MOBAs and online card games and stuff. And like, yeah, I guess everything goes through seasons, but like mobile games seem to be like hyper singularly intensive for certain metas. Like Teppen right now, like you play Zero or you play some weird Sigma deck, and you hope you don't lose to Zero.
Yeah. Well, 7 Deadly Sins actually has a decent meta. It has like 4 or so varied teams, which is, for a game like this, is pretty good, but a lot of those units aren't out in global yet, so it's pretty much King and Bond, who are the best 2 units that have been released so far, and then support. But that'll get a little bit more varied as the character roster grows.
Yeah, well, Green Merlin just came out. That's a huge unit.
Yeah, she's great.
We got a lot of stuff.
I got her. I'm
Stout,
very excited about it.
Playing? I did not. I got Bond, but I did not get her.
I got both.
What are you playing, Stout? What are you doing?
Like right this minute?
No, I mean in general. Like,
you know, other than 14 and Teppen.
I occasionally hop on Masters. I haven't really touched. Play Teppen a little bit. Play Legends of Runeterra probably more than anything else right now because you can play it on mobile now. And I don't know, but just
Man,
the devs seem to put a lot
app.
of love.
I don't play it a ton, but Runeterra has this crazy good presentation in that app.
The app is buttery smooth, let me tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean when you have 10-cent money, being able to throw it into a mobile app,
yeah, exactly. It better be good.
Because if that thing doesn't sell 1 million on day 1, they're firing everybody by execution squad.
But it's delivered. I really enjoy it. I occasionally hop on Rust and play with a couple of guys that I used to play Rust with pretty frequently.
That's wild. I haven't played Rust in forever.
It's a Rust for me is only fun if you are playing with a group of people.
I mean, naked rock rushes are pretty good, but the rest of the game's kind of intolerable.
I mean, we have fun, but that's just because we don't play to play it like seriously. We play it to be silly. And you know, I enjoy that. What else? Been playing some Sonic Mania, but that's just I play games with my son, so we play.
So happy about that. Mania is so fucking good.
Well, we actually play Super Mario 3D World every day, at least once a day for like maybe 10-15 minutes. So, you know, gaming with my kid means a lot to me.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So,
like, my dad spending time to game with me when I was a kid had a really, really big effect on pretty much me becoming literate among coming out of my shell. So, like, I get it. It may not you may not see it like 100% now, but it means a lot. Like, especially in his life.
Oh, there's little things like where you can tell. Yeah, it's the little moments like when you're sitting down and when you're playing and like we've played like several levels and I don't even think about it, and he just hops up off his bed and he like, because normally I'll wheel a chair into his room and he'll lay on his bed and while we play, and he'll come up and he'll be like, Dad, I love playing Mario and I love you, and it's like, thanks, kiddo. So yeah,
One day
wholesome as hell.
Kill a witch.
Yeah. So
one day he'll have to kill a witch and all of that will be over.
Yeah, we'll expose them to witch killing techniques later on down the road if the times get really bad.
if this COVID-19 doesn't clear up and he's got to start killing witches.
Who knew where this virus would take us? But,
oh no! Now we've got mud witches. Damn it!
Stout son in 20 years looking like Geralt of Rivia. He's got a Super Mario cartridge around his neck.
Yeah. Why do you always carry a broken Super Mario 3D World disc? It was my father's.
Every time somebody reaches out to touch it, you like fucking slap them in the hand. You're like, that's mine.
No joke. This was actually the other day. He was playing Mania while I was cooking dinner, and he came up to me. He said, "Dad, I can't get Sonic to work." And I said, "What's wrong with it?" He's like, "I can't click on the thing that I normally play." So I walk over. What he normally does is he likes to go in time attack so he can pick his level. That's what he likes to do. And I go over and it's not available. This guy had gone into the options and deleted all of our game data. So it's like everything is gone.
Briefly went over that the other day, and I launched Sonic Mania to see how easy that was. You only have to hit like 3 buttons.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Not hard.
Now keep in mind he's not even 5. He reading for him is very basic. But he just hops on the menus and just hits buttons. I mean, he knows how to get to play to what he wants to play, but I was just like, oh man. Which it says a lot for how I've grown as a person, because when people used to erase my games when I was a kid, I remember I would get furious about it.
My little brother erased my original Pokemon Gold save file right as I was finishing it, like right before we got to Red. Spoiler alert. And
Yeah, shocking spoiler.
I almost like beat him to death. Like I didn't actually hit him, but like it was one of those moments where I was like, this is worth it, and I think I'm gonna do it.
Well, it's probably different when it's your 4-year-old son.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is much different. It's much different. I was just like, oh man, that sucks. I was like,
well, it's a different time period too. You're in your 20s. Like I was 12.
Yeah, I remember flipping out on my Wind Waker file when I was the hunt portion of the game, which is towards the end. And I remember just which now it's just like I just told my son, I'm like, well, looks like we're starting over in Green Hills Zone. He's like, that's my favorite. So he was fine.
He was ready to go.
Yeah.
That's the level I know I can beat.
I've practiced, much like my witch hunting.
Yeah.
He's gonna take all of the evasive skills he's learned from Sonic and apply it to witch hunting.
He's gonna go fast. Do you think he's gonna speed run the witch killing record?
I mean, he might. He likes to do things fast, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Has he? So has he Sonic-ismed you? Like, has he ever like looked up to you and said, "I gotta go fast"?
I mean, the thing that he normally says to me is he'll just like be sitting down, he'll look up at me, and he'll go, "Hey." And sometimes like I may not hear him. He'll be like, "Hey," and I'll say, "What?" And he'll say, "Hey, Dr. Eggman, you can't catch me, Sonic the Hedgehog." And then he'll just take off running. And so then I have to chase him. And the whole time he's just taunting me. Like, you can't catch me, Eggman.
That's great.
There's no way we're gonna top that with anything else on this show. So that's probably a good point to wrap it up.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's
a good place that's a good stopping point.
So this is the inaugural episode of Mana by Moonlight. Reach out to us.
Yeah, I'll put everybody's contact info in the the description below the video, which is down there. And I think the plan is to stream the future episodes, I believe.
Yeah, because we can auto-upload them to YouTube, and then if we decide we want to syndicate elsewhere, we can just download the video. So it's not huge.
So hopefully we'll do this live in the future. We'll have a little bit of chat interaction, but we thought it would be good just to have an episode where you can get to know everybody, and feel free to share any stories that you guys have in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. If they're good stories, I will totally read them off on the next episode. I love hearing about how,
definitely. Make sure you do that.
Yeah, I love hearing how games have impacted people and what it means to them. It's a great medium for some great stories. So feel free to share down below.
Although you were apparently very, very let down with my story. I'm sorry, there were no nuns shot in my story.
Well, I was waiting for your story to be like, yeah, the name Spooticus comes from the last word this guy said to me after he got stabbed in a back alley behind a vacant strip club. And I was over there just because. I don't really know why. My buddy was just like, hey, I want to go to this place. And then this guy was like, you gotta protect the Spoot. And I was like, I gotta keep the Spoot spirit alive. And that was what I was expecting.
He handed... With his final breath, he handed me a bloodied business card. The only thing I could read on it was the handle for the email, Spooticus@gmail.com.
I'll treasure it till my last day.
So I became Spooticus.
I had to make sure Spooticus never died.
Oh my god. I am his living legacy.
I am legend.
It's just dying
hopes, my
Spooticus
dreams,
hitting him the
they're
fucking
yours
sword.
now.
Spoot walking slowly toward the city, dragging the sword
Oh
behind.
man. Oh.
Why is it so heavy?
Oh my god. Crisis Core. I love it.
My name is Cloud.
It's too late for me to be scream laughing in my apartment.
I am Static Effect Spooticus. Static Effect Fort Misery Gaming. Scuba's just never had the heart to tell you he's never met you before.
I know, it's wild.
It's like when
And then we get
tells the backstory to Tifa, and she's like, "That doesn't sound right."
Yeah. I don't think that's how it happened.
You were a soldier? Are you sure?
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Obviously, like I said, share your stories down below. We'd love to hear them, and hopefully tune in when we do this live, and we'll also upload an archive of it for anybody who can't see it live, just so you know. We always keep you guys informed, and that's all I got. Gentlemen, any final words?
Take care of yourselves, take care of your friends and your family in these. We were lighthearted about it, but just look out for yourselves and make sure that you're staying safe.
Now is the perfect time to set government buildings on fire.
Okay, and with that, we will
God.
see you guys next time.
And on YouTube.
Bye.